Hi guys, welcome back to Duck Ponds Farm. We're pretty excited this week. We've got a few new farm animals joined us here. We'll go and take a look at them in a minute, but I've got a little chainsaw job to do up in the orchard first. Just watering the bacon seeds. When we first started planting our orchard here, it was midsummer, a bit of a heat wave. It was 40 plus degrees and really dry. We knew these plants would struggle, so what we did, we left a lot of the native trees in place just to give them a bit of shade, sort of a bit like a greenhouse. Most of the trees are probably only 4 or 5 metres tall, so they'd be easy enough to cut out later on. They weren't really going to be a hassle, so we just continued on up the hill, marking out new rows and planting new trees. We never really gave much thought to the native trees that were in place. We figured we'd just deal with them later. As time went on, our rows came further and further up the hill, and before we knew it, we realised we'd missed this big fella somehow. Now, he's got to be 20 metres tall, I reckon. Maybe taller. How we forgot to take him into account, I have no idea. So now we've got to try and get rid of him in amongst all these other trees. So the plan is to aim him down this way between those two closest trees there, and if I can drop him between them, then we'll get by with very little damage really. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. Gotta be happy with that. Took a bit longer than I hoped, but missed that little fella. Missed the mandarin. China's monkey nut escaped by the skin of its teeth by the look of it. And I think everything else will be alright. Citrus tree has some description in there, but he's unscathed as well. Looks like someone's looking out for us upstairs, but look at that. Pretty happy with that. Let's go see the animals. So these are our new Dorper sheep. The Dorpers are a meat breed of sheep that was developed in South Africa in the 30s. Well, it never got here to Australia until sort of mid-90s. They were bred to be a fast-growing, low-maintenance sheep that would do well in hot, dry conditions, which sort of suits what we've got out here. And they're a shedding sheep, so you don't need to shear them. You'll notice these guys, one's fully shed at the moment. She looks pretty clean, and the others are a bit shabby looking. They sort of shed it over a period of a couple of months, I believe. And because they don't hold on to their wool like a lot of other sheep breeds, they're not as susceptible to fly strike and things like that. Now, this breed's a non-selective grazer, so instead of just eating grasses like some other sheep breeds, they'll eat a lot of weeds, a lot of woody weeds, sort of similar eating habits to a goat, which will be handy here because we want to use them for a bit of weed control around the property. Traditionally, sheep are kept in a large paddock for a couple of months or however long it takes them to eat the grass down, and then they get shifted onto the next paddock. There's a couple of problems with that system. The animals, they have their favourite plants and they'll really hammer those plants. That was a touch on the electric fence. They'll really hammer those plants and leave the ones that they don't like alone. So what happens over a period of time is your paddocks end up filling up with the plants that they don't really like. Keeping animals in one spot for long periods of time like that also allows like parasitic worms and things like that to complete their life cycles and reinfect the animal. So if you take the roundworm as an example, the roundworm has to exit the sheep's body to complete its life cycle. So what happens is the worm lays its eggs inside the sheep. The eggs get deposited on the ground with the sheep's manure. The worm eggs hatch and start its life cycle, and it takes between 4 and 10 days before that worm larva is mature enough to reinfect the sheep. So at that point, the worm crawls up blades of grass and gets eaten by the sheep, and the sheep is reinfected. So the worms can survive for up to about 6 months without a host animal. So if you can remove your sheep from a particular piece of ground before that 4-day window and not bring them back for at least 6 months, it goes a long way to reducing the risk of being infected by worms. The best way to do that is through intensive rotational grazing, which has a lot of other benefits as well. Essentially the idea is you create small paddocks using portable electric fencing and stock those paddocks densely for short periods of time. How densely you stock those paddocks is dictated by what sort of grasses you've got growing and how much your animals eat, so it's sort of a trial and error thing. So ideally when the animals are ready to be moved to the next paddock, which will be within that 4-day window, you want pretty much all the plant material in the paddock to be either eaten down or trampled down. The animals then get moved to the next paddock and then the next and so on, and they won't return to this original patch of ground for at least 6 months. So that breaks your parasite life cycle, and it also gives a chance for all that trampled vegetation and the manure to be assimilated into the ground, and that goes a long way to improving your soil quality. It also gives a chance for all the plants in here to complete their life cycles as well. Even the little native plants, it gives them a chance to regrow, flower and set seed, so that grazing won't actually wipe anything out. You can add an additional step into the process that increases the benefits to the soil, the plants and the animals, and that is chickens. With our mobile chicken coop and our portable electric netting, we'll be able to graze the chickens a few days behind the sheep. The benefits of that is the chickens will scratch through the manure and they'll find any parasite larvae and take care of them, and they'll also aerate the soil a little and dig some of that manure in. The parasites that affect the sheep are species specific, so they won't affect the chickens at all. And the chickens get the benefit of 3 days worth of fresh grass growth, which they love, and it's a good supplement to the grain that we feed them. So that's pretty much the theory behind rotational grazing, and if it's managed properly, it'll build your soil health and fertility over a period of time. You can bring more species of animals into the mix as well, the more the better really, so long as you don't regraze the same species of animal within that 6-month window. Pigs are a good one. They'll also till the soil up a little bit and aerate the soil. At this stage we don't have many plans to do that, but they are one that could be incorporated into the mix, and so far keeping them in electric fence is working well for us, so it might be something that we look at. We have got them in one fairly large fenced off area at the moment. This is the first place they were put in when they were brought home. We didn't know how they would react to being in a small area, so we made a fairly large paddock for them. But they're pretty quiet, so I think we'll be able to drop that paddock size down pretty quickly to where we want it. So that's about it for another week here at Duck Ponds. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave us a comment, press the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. We'll see you next time.